And we are back here on Fox 59 tonight, continuing our coverage of Indiana and its redistricting as the federal government is also shut down, and now the second longest government shutdown in history. Before we move deeper into that side of government issues, ladies, your predictions on Indiana's redistricting efforts. Does it fail? Are they able to find the votes? Because as you said, we had Rod Bray saying, we don't have the votes. And then 15 minutes later, governor said, hold on, not so fast. Don't count us out just yet. Do they figure it out? And if they do, is it a 7-2 map? Is it a 9-0? What happens?
You want to go first, Sam?
No, go ahead.
I think that they will make a good college try attempt at doing a redistricting map in the House first. I think it'll go to the Senate, and I think it probably dies in the Senate. I'm not quite sure that anyone's willing to take on the risk associated with what redistricting the maps in such a short time frame without a lot of constituent communications in between would mean. But if they do produce the map and it doesn't work, I could see them having another special session to draw them back.
So there could be another special session?
There's been plenty of special sessions over the course of the history of Indiana.
But we do it, like, turn around and do it again in, like, December?
No, like in the next year, like 2026.
Well, by then, it'd be midterm time. So it'd
like
be
after the midterm.
So it'd be too late for this midterm.
Right. If it doesn't work. So we'd have to go through the midterm maneuver is what I've been calling it. We go through the midterm maneuver if it doesn't work. So I guess it would be really 2027 that I could see them redistricting back if it didn't work.
Which would be even more bizarre because what is truly the point if the midterms have now passed? All right, Sam, what do you think?
We're seeing articles already saying that the House has the votes, that the Senate doesn't. Just like Senator Bray said, they're saying the House has the votes, the Senate don't. At this point, though, especially because you were right before, I don't put anything.
I love it when y'all say that. I just love
it. I'm not gonna hold you. I don't put anything past them. And I think all of the Democrat organizers throughout the state should use this, like every good organizer, should, and really rally voters. We need to get more voters out, regardless of where you are, honestly, regardless of where you are on the spectrum, conservative, liberal, whatever. I don't care what you are. You need to be out. You need to be voted. You need to be reflected in these decisions. And that's what's on the line right now and I hope that Democrats are steering this back to that. This is about fairness and representation. This is about making sure that voters are adequately represented. And we need to make sure that we protect our democracy at each level. And right now, this is the one that's under fire. And we need to make sure that we stay focused on that task. But yeah, I think just like Willie said, I think it goes to the House. They have the votes for it. And then I don't know. I really don't know with the Senate. They're saying they don't have the votes, but honestly, I don't put anything past them. And we have no idea too. We only see the public scrutiny they're getting. I don't even know the threats that they're getting behind closed doors. The fact that the VP has been here in closed door meetings with them 3 times, I'm sure they're getting much more pressure than we actually see on the outside. So, like I said, I really don't think we can call it before it actually happens. And then we'll just have to go from there.
And part of that is because of the point that both of you have made, and that is that Indiana is not as ruby red as maybe it used to be, and as people have thought it is. We've talked about how Hamilton County to the north is not as deep red. It's far more purple, and District 5 is far more purple. And to the point that you both have made, if people hear about this and they're upset, whatever it is that motivates them to go vote, if more Democrats go vote than are currently voting now, these maps could backfire. If people don't go vote and they change the maps, then Republicans are in a good spot. The key is to get the trouble, either the key, depending on what side you're on, either the key or the trouble is what happens if Democrats go vote.
Yes, I mean, when turnout increases, period, more Democrats win. We have seen that to be historically true. When turnout increases, more Democrats win. So I mean, yes, if we can turn out, honestly, if we were turning out in a way that we should, we would have already had 3 seats to begin with. Honestly, that's just in the reality. Could be more if we really pushed it, but three for sure. And so, yeah, and I hope this is a wake up call for all of our folks. And I don't want to be so ticky tack because there's a lot of people that feel like they don't identify with either party, and I'm good
Mhm.
with that. I'm good with that. But I hope it's a wake up call for everybody, not just Democrats, but even for Republicans who feel like, yo, going in and tampering with our maps midterm, not in the time that it's supposed to, because it's supposed to be informed by our senses and stuff, not just randomly drawn by people who just wanted to change. Like, for anybody who feels passionately about this, I hope that this drives you to go and vote and make sure that your elected officials are representative of you and your values, but that also are standing on them even when this pressure comes from the federal government.
Well, there's plenty
Hmm.
of reasons for people to be upset and pay attention what government is doing at the state level, at the city level, as we've talked about, and at the federal level. Because right now, the federal government is shut down in what is now the second longest federal government shutdown. And this time is real. There's been times where it's like, it only impacts you if you're doing this. It only impacts you if you're doing this.
Mm.
Right now, we know TSA workers are going to work every day, not getting paid. Air traffic controllers not getting paid. Other people have been furloughed and sent home, not getting paid. We're getting into the holidays. It's getting ready to be Thanksgiving. People are getting laid off left and right in the private and government sector. And now, to top it all off, um, SNAP benefits appears that they're not going to be distributed for the month of November, and that is worrying for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. And so I guess I want to know from the two of you, as this government shutdown moves into November, and people literally may not be able to eat, who is going to get the blame for this? You first, Whitley.
Ugh, I don't know. I think that the overarching idea right now is that both parties are pointing the finger at each other. The Democrats are saying, you guys have all the power. What's wrong? But we all know that we can't vote on the continuing resolution without having at least 60 votes. And so the Dems are holding out. They say for Obamacare, the issue that I kind of have in the whole thing is the continuing resolution that was proposed. The Democrats proposed it. This is actually their continuing resolution that is now no longer good enough for them, given whatever circumstances they feel has changed. At one point in time, it was good enough. They were going to vote on it, and now it's not good enough. On the same end, you have Republicans now pointing fingers and saying, well, there was a bill to at least continue to fund the military, and the Democrats didn't vote for it. So they don't want to at least fund the military. And so it's really just a game that they're playing of pointing fingers, when in reality, their job as congressional leaders is to come together to have common ground for the country. And so I think it'll detrimentally impact them equally, but in different ways.
I think a lot of it's going to have to do with who's the better messenger on it.
Exactly.
Because as you said, the Democrats right now have been saying, "Hey, we're not in control of anything." They've got the White House, the Senate, and the House, and so people are like, "Okay, well, yeah, that's true." But then the Republicans are saying, "But yeah, we need 60 votes, so we still need some of y'all to come to the table and participate on this." And that's the part that I think the three of us understand, but GQ public, all they understand is, hey, the Republicans do have all three branches of government. So, but now things are going to get ramped up because things change when you're hungry, and people are literally
Well,
about to go hungry.
I just want to uplift too that they don't have the votes because they're asking for Republicans to come back and
Correct.
negotiate the extension of the health insurance subsidy. So it's not just that they're saying no, we're just not, right?
Hmm.
It's that no, we're saying no, let's negotiate these things and then we can talk about that. And like Whitley said, it's like that's their job. That's literally the job. The job is to go into those rooms to negotiate things so that it works out in the best interest of the American people. And obviously right now we are not at a place where this is working out for the best interest of the American people. And so I think anytime when you have people who aren't willing at least to come to the table, that is a significant problem. And so that needs to happen first. And unfortunately, at the same time, while we're fighting, because that's the one thing, right? I wish there was the one thing that we could focus on figuring out, which would be opening our government back, right? So that folks aren't losing benefits, so folks aren't losing pay. But unfortunately, because we have this onslaught of attack across the country for the redraw and every other crazy thing that our president is doing right now, it is really making this even murkier to try to figure out, because Democrats are trying to use the pieces of power that they have, right? So while it's not true that it's totally the Republicans' fault just because they have the House and the Senate and, whatever, but at the same time, it is fair to say that, yo, you have all of this power. This is the one bargaining chip that we have, the thing that we can hold back, right? To get the things that we need that need to stay in place. And let's be clear, making sure that the Affordable Care Act continues to grow and thrive and serve people well is not just important to Democrats, is important to all Americans. The largest percentage of people using in the marketplace for the Affordable Care Act is Republicans. And so this is not just Democrats fighting for Democrats. This is fighting for all Americans who need health insurance, who need to make sure they continue being covered, whether they have existing conditions or not, all things that are protected by the Affordable Care Act. But then on the other side, like I said, because we're being attacked on every front, it's so hard to come to the table and try to just think about the one thing. And that's what's so selfish about what's going on with our White House, with our executive branch right now, is that they are putting us in so much turmoil that you can't even clearly focus on one thing or another. And
Hmm.
I honestly feel like that's why, this is the second longest shutdown we've had, both of the top two though being under Trump's terms. And he's the king of turmoil, of chaos. And that's what he's done through this. And honestly, I don't see Democrats backing down on telling Republicans they have to come negotiate this, unless the people. So unless people, right, the people really start to push. And I know some have, right. There was some of the unions, things like that, started to the federal workers union and stuff. They've been making pleas. So I think unless we start to see more push like that, and then I think the Democrats would probably cave. But right now it's the only negotiating power that they have at the moment, and it's like we can't give that up either. And so yeah, I think we need politicians being less selfish and more interested in what's best for the American people.
Well, and the temperature might get turned up literally when people can't eat. I mean, we've already heard from
Mhm.
food banks and food pantries are saying, look, we're gearing up. Like, we are already busy this time of year because it's Thanksgiving. But now, with everybody who's
Let-
lost jobs.
you know I want to say this really quick
Hmm.
because I was somebody on food stamps, and I want to say this because during the last, especially this last year or so,
Hmm.
we've seen people on the people that are on food stamps be characterized as if they're people who are working over the system or
Hmm.
manipulating it, or they don't really need them. I want to say this as a mom, as a community leader. When I was on food stamps, I was 100% reliant upon those food stamps providing food for my house. 100%. And I cannot stress enough. I feel like I'm going to cry right now because I can't imagine those moms right now that are looking at their children and thinking, what am I going to do this weekend?
Hmm.
Like, we as leaders, as elected officials, we cannot sit back and let those families that will not be able to eat otherwise look at their families and say that I cannot provide for you. Like that is insane. And so we have to find a way to help these folks, and especially for our state because that's where we are and that's what we're focused on, but across our nation as well. This is not the food stamp system is not just a bunch of people scamming, okay? These are people who are actually reliant upon these benefits and these assistance to provide to eat for
And,
their family, literally to survive.
and if I may add, some people will say, well, why don't you go get a job? There are so many people who are on food stamps who work
Ugh,
every
I was
single
always
day.
working.
Yeah. And it's a
I've never not
requirement
had a
now.
job.
It's a requirement. So it's really interesting what Sam has stated in both of what she just said. So she just went and said that this is the only leverage that Democrats have. Is this healthcare subsidy is the only leverage that they have in order to get a semblance of power or to get something passed. Then she also said that people, right,
For the subsidies,
exactly.
not
So
the subsidies themselves.
the negotiating power is not coming to the table to pass a continuing resolution that would fund SNAP. The leverage that they are using is the loss for everyone else. This one thing, this continuing resolution is going to fund not only the SNAP benefits, it's going to fund the military, it's going to fund those air traffic controllers, it's going to fund TSA and all of these other things. But it is the
And
leverage.
then people are going
Hold
to
on,
lose
let me
health
finish.
coverage
Let me
that's
finish
also
because I
keeping
let
them
you speak.
alive.
I
You
let you
can't do
speak,
that.
Sam. I let you speak. And I was
You're
listening.
mischaracterizing what I'm saying.
I'm
All right,
actually,
let her finish.
I'm actually not because this is what is happening. When you don't have power and you're not in a position of power, you have to find semblances of leverage to utilize in order to get your agenda across. These healthcare subsidies, which could be honestly negotiated in a completely different bill, is the one thing holding up all of these other houses of cards that could be utilized to help to keep people from starving. But it is the only leverage, and they are not coming to the table unless you give me what I want. Hindsight, the other flip side of this token is people may starve next month. They may starve because this leverage piece of the healthcare subsidy is not being met. And the Democrats are not going to come to the table unless they get this one thing. But there are so many other things within this continuing resolution that need to be looked at and that should be important. And so you have to ask yourselves, is this really about the people or is it about power? And it seems like for both sides, it's about power.
Well,
Go ahead.
and I'm just jumping right in off of what you're saying, Whitley. I hear you, but what the Democrats are saying is, in another way, the same thing Sam is saying. The same people who are being affected by SNAP are also going to be in the same boat of people who, if their premiums and their healthcare coverage skyrockets, you're not going to be able to have healthcare coverage. Then maybe you don't get to eat. It's all kind of on that side. It's the same thing.
But the subsidies
More than triple.
But the subsidies are set to expire in what year? Not this year. So we have time on one where people have impending starvation next
now.
This week,
Yeah.
the end of this week. So when we're talking about policy making and we're talking about prioritizing what people want, and we're looking at how this all impacts.
Republicans are playing chicken with the American people.
But you just told us that this is the only leverage that Democrats have, and you don't see them coming to the table
not to
unless this leverage is met.
Let her clarify.
No. They're asking, no. You're saying Democrats are refusing to come to the table.
No,
That's
you
not true
said that.
because they're asking. No, I said Republicans are not willing to come to the table to negotiate. I said they need to. So he's asking that Republicans start to negotiate this extension. Okay. So they're asking Republicans are the ones refusing to come to the negotiating table about the subsidies. So the Democrats are saying we're voting no. So if you want us to vote on this continuation, just come to the table. They're saying come to the table to negotiate. They won't even negotiate.
Right. And what I'm saying is the prioritization of people getting the resources that they need should not hinge on a subsidy that is not up yet.
I hear you.
When you have people starving in 5 days, you could have people, as you stated, you were about to cry. This is a very sensitive topic, and I'm someone who's utilized the Supplemental Nutritious Assistance Program. You have people that may starve next week. You have the subsidy that doesn't end until next year, so you have more time.
So why can't we take that discussion?
Negotiate?
But if you're not going to negotiate now, why can't we just take that part of the CR? Who has the power?
They won't.
Correct. So why? Both of you are essentially saying the same thing. But the question is,
I don't feel like we're saying the same thing. What I'm saying is, we can work on the subsidies and coming together and finishing those, fulfilling those, funding those, because we still have time, because the subsidies
whose decision is it to do what you're asking?
The Democrats could come to the table and vote on the CR now that does not have the health subsidies in it, because they don't expire yet. They're not expired yet. So they could come to the table and vote on the continuing resolution that is currently on the table. They want to add the health subsidies and funding for the health subsidies in the current continuing resolution.
And let me just ask, and I truly don't know the answer to this. This original CR was only supposed to fund the government for 6 weeks.
Exactly.
So we're about to pass that. So then what happens? Truly, what happens?
What is supposed to happen is that they come together and they then fund these different projects within their own committees on the different topics like they normally do. The problem that we're having, once again, this is now no longer about funding the government and its leverage and a political power play on everyone's end. And we are losing.
That's two different kinds, though, because we have one political play that's not in the best interest of the people. It's about selfish power. And then we have another political play that's about the best interest of the American people, not seeing insurance premiums quadruple.
Right,
those are two different things.
But then they could say the same thing about SNAP. They could say the same thing about TSA. They could say the same thing about the military. These things are in the best interest of the people right now. You want SNAP funded? Come to the table and vote on this continuing resolution for 6 weeks. So you could make the exact same argument for both parties to say, we're trying to fund and keep the government afloat. We're trying to provide food to SNAP, and we're trying to fund the federal government. And you're holding out for this one siloed topic when this continued resolution.
It's one topic. Republicans, it's one topic. If it's just one topic, why can't it be added?
See?
It's one topic that's going to keep things affordable for the American people, because health insurance, this is what is so infuriating, because with health insurance premiums, if I need prescription drugs but I can't afford my insurance, that is also a threat to my life right now. And I'm diabetic and I need my insulin. That's a threat to my life right now. So that's what I'm saying. Like what we're arguing, the top two most important things should be healthcare coverage and SNAP. Period.
I'm saying is we have more time to figure out healthcare. SNAP has an impending cancellation, non-funding in 5 to 7 days.
This is where states are going to have to come in and fill that void.
And I was just getting ready to say, so there's this back and forth at the state level. So we were talking about state government before, then we went to federal government. Now the state government, as you just mentioned, Sam, is now being brought back in, because it's like, hey, somebody has got to pay these SNAP benefits. So this just came hot off the press from Representative Porter. He has put forth something to fund SNAP benefits at the state level, but he is saying Republicans have turned that down. Let's see, Republicans refuse to support Porter's recommendation to fund SNAP and food banks. This is in response to something that Governor Braun has said, so I have to read this whole thing, but this just came in. He's calling on Governor Braun or the State Board of Finance to allocate $112 million to FSSA to cover SNAP for all recipients, including any of these missed payments. He said says in September of 25, Indiana SNAP costs $111.4 million. That's an average of $195 per recipient. If the shutdown does not last through the whole month of November, then the rest of the 112 would be reverted back to the general fund. And he also wants to provide an additional $10 million to Indiana's food banks in each month of the shutdown if it continues. And so I guess now I have to go back with this because when we ended last session, because of the big beautiful bill that left lots of states, including ours, with less money, the big beautiful bill and the tariffs, I thought we ended session saying that we didn't have any extra money like we normally do, like the surplus and rainy day fund had been impacted. So I truly don't know what is left right now.
They had, within the budgeting cycle, they had set some money aside for the government shutdown. The issue that Porter has right here is he made a recommendation and not a motion. And so it's not fully, it's half-baked. The intent is great, but how can we do it? Especially when the money that's coming from the federal government, which is what Nikki Kelly with Capitol Chronicle reported, it doesn't come directly to Indiana. So how do we fund the third-party payer of SNAP and EBT just for our state?
And explain that just a little bit because it's about logistics.
Right. It's the logistics. So a lot of times with federal government, federal money, the money comes to the state allocates it to the branch of government or the program, FSSA, DCS, USDA, that runs the program. The federal government, in this case, funds directly a third-party payer that distributes the EBT. And so if the state steps in to fund it, how do we, Indiana, get money to a third-party payer to fund this when we have no contractual agreement with the third-party payer? We don't necessarily have the mechanisms. And so when the Republicans said, since this isn't a motion, it's a recommendation, we need the mechanism available to be able to do this. What needs to happen now is Indiana needs to come together and find a mechanism to figure out how they can fund and feed Hoosiers. And in order to do that, this is a states' rights issue now. In order to do that, they would need to get in some type of alignment or contract with the third-party payer system to be able to fund this. Then the next question is, when the government is no longer shut down, will the federal government pay back the states and reimburse them for the money that was spent? Ideally, it's going to reimburse the workers that continue to work. But when it comes to the states, there is no such type of agreement that, oh, well, you covered us when the government was shut down. That's good on you. There's no such of an agreement. So this is a multi-layered issue that probably needs to be figured out within the next 48 to 72 hours if they are going to fund November SNAP.
And it seems like those logistics could be worked out because even if it's a third payer party, the Indiana SNAP benefits, they come on a card that say Indiana, so they know where the Indiana people are, and it's not like it's a federal card like it is an Indiana card. And Illinois has this something, in California. Right. So it seems like it's some people, as you're saying, need to get into a room and sign some kind of papers and transfer something. But then even if they do that in the short term to fund, it's okay. Are we going to get this money back?
Right. So there are a lot of questions. I do believe that they're working on getting those questions answered and figuring out and finding a way to fund this mechanism. It would have been better if Representative Porter had created a motion as opposed to a strong recommendation of what we should be doing, because I believe as legislators, it's imperative that we utilize policy to propel people. And so I guess I commend him for the recommendation. We were all waiting on what they were going to do, but now there needs to be a motion with mechanisms that allow for this to go forward.
All right, y'all. We're just about out of time, but this is multi-layered.
I thought they did. I thought the motion failed. So he didn't put a motion?
He put a recommendation. It wasn't a full motion to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, and it does say here recommended the allocation.
He recommended the allocation. It wasn't.
Okay. My other question was, you remember when we did the summer EBT with the schools?
Sunbucks?
Yeah, when we did the Sunbucks and they sent the separate card. Can we not do something like that?
I'm not necessarily sure because we defunded the Sunbucks program. I don't know if you remember that. We didn't have enough money to keep it going.
I'm not.
I'm not sure because I'm going to be honest. The current Hoosier
But
SNAP,
that was a state program.
it was
is
a
my
state
point.
program, right? But the current Hoosier SNAP program, Indiana doesn't even send the cards out. It goes through that third party
Right.
system. So you can't
Mhm.
even go to the FSSA office and get a card right away because a card comes from the
Right.
third party. They don't know whether you
Right.
have it or not. And so this is kind of one of the issues when the federal government is the direct contractor with the service provider, where we're just managing who's eligible to be on the program, but don't actually have physical control over what's happening. We get in situations like this.
I feel smarter now. I'm concerned, though.
I'm concerned.
I'm concerned
too.
You know, as people, when you're hungry, you know, people got to do what they got to do.
And it's the holidays.
And it's the holidays.
So you're going to have, you know, kids home for Thanksgiving break with no food in the house, which we saw during COVID when the children had to stay home. I mean, it's going to be treacherous. It has the potential to be very treacherous.
It raises other issues too, because if we see, I seen a post on social media where it was a joke, but somebody laid the Kool-Aid packets over the top of the barcode for like some meat and stuff, right? And they was like, if these stamps don't hit on the first, but it's very real.
Like, no,
are we
people are
going
going
to start prosecuting people? Yeah, are we going to prosecute people for stealing food?
People are going to start stealing. Yeah,
yeah, it's illegal.
Yeah,
so
this is going to
they
get
probably will.
What I'm saying is this, it presents other problems outside of just like eating, because families are going to find a way. So then what are we going to do about that? And that, yeah, we have to figure this out on the state's end. This is the other thing. We have to be willing to negotiate, and I think at a federal level, that's what needs to happen. Is both sides have to be willing to negotiate.
All right, y'all. We're out of time. In fact, I think we're about to go a little bit over time, but we'll have to continue this conversation as the redistricting special session goes. We actually didn't even get to talk about the other part of redistricting, which is this tax thing that they've also added in there. So we'll stay on top of all of it, but yeah, really concerned for everybody as we go into November, into what is now truly uncharted water. Sam Whitley, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your insight, your honesty, your passion, and all the service that you do. By the way, everybody, Sam, what is the award that you're getting for representing your hard work on the inside?
Community Advocate of the Year.
Indeed.
At Cafe's Gala tomorrow. Yeah.
All right. Congratulations. Well deserved.
Thank you.
All right, ladies, thank you so much. That's going to do it for Fox 59 tonight on this edition. I'll talk to you Sunday morning on my radio show, Open Lines, on 106.7 WTLC and Hot 100.9, and always on Fox 59 and Fox59.com. Good night.